this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all you do to support this channel. And today I want to talk about something that's very touchy with Black Americans, and I include myself in that. And that is this notion about Black Americans being lazy. Everybody has latched on to that and use it to insult us, along with the N word and any other nasty thing they can come up with. So today, I want to talk about the extent that America went to from the beginning of this country to keep Black people in this country. First of all, they never wanted to come to this country in the first place. The enslaved people never wanted to come to the United States of America. Nobody would want to leave their homeland in shackles, having their families separated, and in some cases branded and put on a slave ship among a bunch of strangers. So we have to start with that. They didn't want to come here in the first place. A few years ago, some members of my church went to Senegal, West Africa. We know that Senegambia was one of the main places that they went scouting for Africans to work here. And when they went back to Goree Island, the tour guide told them that during the time of the enslavement of African people, the waters around Goree Island was bloody because those Africans, when they could get loose, would jump overboard and the sharks would get them because they did not want to come here with these foreigners, people that they had never seen before. So let's begin with that. Black people never wanted to come here in the first place, and they were forced. They were forced on those slave ships, and they were held on those plantations pretty much at gunpoint. So let's begin there. So you're going to do all of that to keep lazy people in your country on your plantation. See, the devil is a liar, as they say in church, because nobody with any kind of common sense would believe that people would go to that extent, go 6,000 miles away to the other side of the world to bring lazy people to live in your backyard, especially when they didn't want to come. It makes you look like a fool, and it makes the whole system of the United States of America look like a fraud. So, number one, they never wanted to come to the United States of America, but they started calling them lazy way back in the slavery days. If an enslaved person got sick, if they didn't bring in the amount of crop that they wanted them to bring in, they took every excuse to call the enslaved people lazy as they sat up on their asses and did nothing, gambling and stealing and just sitting around living a casual life while the Black people did the work. But the enslaved people always longed for their freedom. When they ran away from the plantation, they had a posse looking for them. The police in the United States began as the paddy rollers, patrolling the roadways and the highways to make sure the enslaved people did not run away. And when one of them did run away, they put the whole arm of the law on them. All of the men, the dogs, the cats, everybody went looking for them. And they had rewards posted all over this country for what they called the runaway slaves. They would hunt those enslaved people down just like they had run off with all of the gold in California. Nothing was spared for them to catch up with one of those enslaved people. Why are you doing that for lazy people? Seem like you would be glad to be rid of them, right? Now, America acknowledges that slavery began in the United States in 1619, but Black people, African people, were coming into this country before then. So from 1619 to 1808, they were bringing Africans into this country, enslaving them. In 1808, the United States Congress banned the importing of slaves into this country. So let us be clear, from the capture in the interior of Africa to arrival in American seaports, Every aspect of the slave trade was marked by bloodshed, separation, and extreme brutality. Tale of human suffering and African resistance to enslavement did little to spark anti-slavery sentiment. For over 150 years, few whites criticized the growing institution and its trade. Quakers were among the few outside of black society who questioned the morality and legality of slavery. The profits it brought to European nations and colonies squelched criticism of its inhumane and cruel nature. So, see, nothing that anybody said or did would stop them from going into Africa and capturing those people and putting them on those slave ships. Why in the hell are you doing that for lazy people? So let's review this. For 150 years, they brought those Africans out of Africa into the United States on slave ships. In 1808, the Congress banned it. They're saying it's too terrible, it's too awful. Don't bring any more Africans out of Africa on those slave ships. And they continued to do it. They continued to go into Africa and capture the African people. Now, I'm not saying the white people captured them. I'm saying the people were captured and put on those slave ships even after the United States Congress outlawed it. Why are you doing that for lazy people? The United States Congress passed two fugitive slave acts, one in 1793 and one in 1850. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1793 was enacted by the United States Congress to give effect to the Fugitive Slave Clause of the United States Constitution. So you see, they added a fugitive slave clause to the United States Constitution. A fugitive is a person who is a runaway from the law. This act authorized local governments to seize and return escaped slaves to their owners and imposed penalties on anyone who aided in their flight. So now you ran away, a lazy person ran away, but now the government can take you and give you back to the person you ran away from. Make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 stated that a person arrested as a runaway slave had no legal rights. It also stated that a person helping a slave to escape or refusing to help slave catchers could be jailed. By now, the abolitionists were active, helping the enslaved people run away from those plantations. So that's why they passed this law. They were going all up into Canada to catch those enslaved people. Because remember, when you are in a slave state, if you run away and get to a free state like Ohio or Massachusetts or New York, you're considered free. They had those slave catchers in Massachusetts, in New York, in Ohio, as far away as Canada, even London, looking for those enslaved people. Why are you doing that? Why are you tracking down all these lazy people? And then there was the case of Bleeding Kansas. Violent guerrilla warfare broke out in the Kansas Territory between 1855 and 1859. Bleeding Kansas was the period of repeated outbreaks of violent, bloody guerrilla warfare between people who wanted slavery to be instituted in the new state. Kansas was coming in as a new state. And then you had these people who wanted to keep slavery going into that territory, fighting the people who were taking a stand and saying, no, we got to bring this slavery to an end. And so it was a tribal war between the people, the pro-slavery people who wanted to continue slavery, and the ones who said, enough already, we've got to bring this to an end. Why are you fighting a tribal war, a bloody, violent guerrilla warfare over lazy people? That's all I'm asking. And then there was the Civil War. The South would not compromise, they would not budge when it came to the issue of ending slavery. They rather tear up the whole country, secede from the United States of America, and start a war rather than give up those enslaved people. Yet and still, they will say, "You're lazy." Somebody is crazy. Okay, y'all, calling us lazy, yet willing to go for broke to send the last member of their family to that civil war, trying to win that war so they could hold on to those enslaved people. Because the reality is, they never had it so good as when they had black people under their thumbs working for them from can to can, taking everything they had away from them, and yet calling them lazy. What kind of people are we dealing with? Let me know. Let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening. Have a good evening.